I want to talk about healing today, and the title of the talk today is Healing is Happening. And it is, you know. It's happening whether we know it or not. Constantly, everything in the outer and the inner is healing, always. You know, I went into a meditation one time. I was younger, and I was attempting to meditate on a level that Deepak Chopra had talked about. I heard him use the statement that meditation is that place between thoughts. And I thought, ooh, that's good, you know. I wonder how long that is. Well, of course, what you learn is that it doesn't matter how long it is. It's just getting that at that place, even if it's a microsecond or two, that something occurs. So I was sitting all alone, and I decided that I would attempt this. So I went into a meditation, and I got to the point where suddenly I realized that I hadn't been thinking for a little while. But as soon as I realized that, of course, then I was no longer there. I was thinking again. So I went a little deeper and tried to relax even more. And what happened for me was I heard a voice more of a Midwestern accent in this voice. A voice like someone from Missouri said to me, "There's a lot of healing that needs to be occurred here." Ooh, and that woke me up, and that's the way it sounded. That's what the voice sounded like to me. And I thought, wow, there's a lot of healing that needs to be done here. I need to go out and find people and start healing them. You get it. It wasn't about them. It was about me. Let's think a minute about the experiences that our Wayshore elder brother and master teacher, Jesus, the Christed One, how he went about healing people. The Bible tells us on several different occasions through all of the synoptic gospels, that'd be Matthew, Mark, and Luke. It tells us that he would go out and he would be walking in the streets and he would see someone and they would cry out to him for help. Help, heal me, master, heal me. He would come to them, and the first thing that he would say to them is, "Do you want to be healed?" And some of them would say, "Yes, yes, I do." And then he would go about doing something to help them in some way. Others, he would say to them a little bit different phrase. He would say to them, "Do you believe that I can heal you?" And they would say, "Oh, yes, yes, yes." And they would do it so fervently that he would then do something. Do something. He would do some sort of demonstration for them that allowed them to do this in almost every case. One man could not hear. So he licked his fingers, stuck them deep in the man's ears, and then pulled them out real quickly. Pop! Obviously clearing his oral passages. And as he did this, he'd say, "Can you hear me now?" And the answer was an emphatic, "Yes, yes, yes." And he would say to the person, "Then go. But don't tell anybody what happened. Don't tell anybody about me." Strange that he would do this, isn't it? What do we know about the phrase, "Don't tell me"? It spread like wildfire, and his reputation grew. To another man who was blind from birth, he took spit in his hand, spittle, the Bible calls it, and took some earth and mixed it together and made a paste, a mud paste, and smeared it on the man's eyes, and then said, "Go and wash your eyes." The man washed his eyes, and then he said, "Can you see?" And the man said, "Well, I see people walking around like trees. They're like trees." I've always wondered about this. The man was blind from birth. How did he know what a tree looked like? Well, he touched trees before. He could sense trees. And And he said, I just see these shapes moving around. It's basically what he was saying. So Jesus said, well, let's do that again. And he did it again. Now wash your eyes. And the man could see. He said it was that those scales fell from his eyes. And the possibility is that's exactly what happened. The cataracts that were on this man's eyes, or whatever the disease was that he had, changed right there on the spot. But before any of that happened, Jesus asked him, do you want to be healed? Or do you believe that I can heal you? And it happened. This happened also from a man who was lying on a little mat beside the pool of Bethesda. There was a belief that if this pool suddenly started swirling around, instead of just being this calmness on the water, that whoever got in there first would receive a healing. So it would occur, and this man would struggle to try to get over there, and every time somebody else would jump in the pool first. This happened to him time after time after time. And he was laying there, and Jesus noticed him and said, I see you laying here struggling to get into this pool. What's going on? And he explained to him, I'm trying to get in here, and I don't have any money, and I don't have anybody to help me into the pool, and I can't get there. And Jesus, knowing that this was just a belief system that some people had, asked the man, do you want to be healed? And the man said, oh yes, I want to be healed. And what did Jesus say to him? Then take up your bed and walk. Grabbed him by the hand and lifted him up, and immediately the man was healed. Immediately. Well, the Pharisees saw this, and Jesus had done this on the Sabbath, and so they said, well, you're doing work on the Sabbath. And Jesus, oh gosh, just the whole idea of that, Jesus just looked at them and said some other things about if you had a sheep that was lost, or you had a bull that was lost and so forth, wouldn't you go out even if it was the Sabbath and try to find this one? That's all I'm doing. I'm just doing that which needs to be done on that day. This isn't work. This is the work of God happening on this day. So they left him alone on that. But that's a little aside story. The main thing is that every one of these people who was healed because they had belief. First and foremost, they had belief. The Bible goes on to describe a time when Jesus goes back to his hometown. He goes back to Nazareth. And he's been traveling around preaching this gospel that he had. And what was the gospel? Repent, for the kingdom is at hand. He was basically saying, change your minds, because that which you seek is within your grasp, right here now. So he's going around, and this is his gospel, and he's teaching this. And as he goes around telling this, he goes into his hometown. It's just a little circuit, and he's going around, and he tells the people. And as he's telling them this, and is explaining to this, they're murmuring to one another, hey, isn't this the carpenter's son that lived here? Basically, what do you know about it? Which we get from that the phrase that no prophet is accepted in his hometown. The same thing happened. You can't possibly have all those qualifications and be the one that can heal people, because we know you as a little child. You're just one of us. You just come from the same place as us. The Bible says that in Nazareth on that day, very little healing was done because of the people's unbelief. And I state this because all of these sort of things occur within us. We've got that Nazareth place within us. We've got this belief that, well, yeah, that might happen to somebody else. They may be healed, but it's not going to happen to me because of who I believe I am. I'm just not worthy of that. So we've got that belief hanging up inside of ourselves. We've got that place where we're laying on the mat, waiting, and if somebody would just help us and do it for us or do it to us, then healing would occur. And so we're just waiting there and kind of struggling a little bit and making a kind of half effort, but we never quite get there to get to the place where we believe the healing can occur. It's always in the outer. It's always something else going on. But when the idea comes to us through that Christed presence that asks us, to ask ourselves, do you really want to be healed? And if we can answer yes, then all we have to do is just get up. Get out of the position we're in our mind. Get out of that belief system that we are and move forward as though everything in our life is renewed. Whatever it might be in our lives, we can become renewed and healed when we decide that that's what's going to happen for us. Each one of us have something we're blind to. We're just blinded to it. And it takes some knowledge on the outside. You know, this whole idea of the spit in the hand and the dust and making that and putting on his eyes, that was for show. Because Jesus, the Christed one, knew that it was able to happen without any outside influence whatsoever. But this man needed just a little extra push. He needed that show to believe this. And so then when he washed his eyes, at first, he wasn't quite tuned in. Okay, let's do it again. Now, do it again. Now, are you healed? Yes, I am. You're amazing. Oh, no, it wasn't me. Don't tell people it was me. It wasn't me. It was your belief that healed you. The same thing occurs with the man who gets his fingers licked and stick in the ears and pop. Same thing. Same exact thing. Yes, I may have cleared your passages so that you can hear, kind of maybe pop some wax out of there and so forth, but the actual hearing happens when your mind, soul are connected in such a way that hearing takes place not just in the outer, but on the inner, that inner hearing. That's why Jesus used so many times when he would use his parables. Let the one who has eyes see. Let the one who has ears hear. It's very, very important that we get the two connected together. The outer hearing, the outer seeing, the inner hearing and seeing. The outer belief that something just occurred that now allows my healing to begin. Whatever blockage we have that is keeping us from experiencing it from within. Finally, that blockage is out of the way because I saw something occur that I believe will restore my healing. Now, for me personally, I really believed that as long as I would cooperate, that everything would be restored to me that had been lost. One of the first things that I heard when I decided the week before, and I was starting to let some of that fear settle itself down and say, I'm really going to do this. And yes, it's going to hurt, but it won't hurt forever. And I've had pain before in my life, and I got over it. You know, see, I'm one of these people that if I'm sick, I can't remember what being well feels like. And when I'm well, I don't remember what being sick feels like at all. I'm just in that moment at the time. That can be good or bad, however you look at it. If you're my caretaker, you don't want to be with me because that sickness is, I'm just a big baby about it. Right? Right. Okay. And I bless you for caring for me so well. So, when I'm in that moment, there I am. I did have the belief that this too shall pass, and I'll get to the point where I'm better than I was before. Not because I had a great belief in the outer and some manipulation that was going to occur in my body, because I knew from having read and studied Scripture and having this as a part of my belief system, that the healing would occur because I believed and because I let go and I promised inside to work with it to restore that which was already present. That's why I call this talk today, Healing is Happening. It's happening at every moment. Something is dying and something is being reborn in every one of us at all times. Not only in our bodies, we say we change cells, change cellular structure. I've heard that it takes about 7 years for every cell in your body to completely renew itself. So every 7 years, we're basically a different person from that standpoint. But we stay the same person because our mind doesn't change. If we allow our mind to continue to grow and heal and renew, then that too keeps us young, keeps us moving, keeps us restored in so many ways. One of the biggest problems we have in aging is what Charles Fillmore, one of the co-founders of Unity, stated about himself. You know, he believed in this thing called regeneration. He believed that he could regenerate all the cells and atoms of his body. And he believed in it so strongly that he would go out and tell other people about it. Okay, there he is in Missouri. People know him. He was a realtor in Missouri. He had these other things. He used to be a publisher. He did these other things, and they were basically saying, isn't this Chuck Fillmore? Isn't that the guy that we knew as a realtor? You know, should we really believe him? After all, we knew him when he was small. We watched him get older, and now he's getting old. Fillmore said this about that. People challenge me, and they say to me, you say you can regenerate yourself, but you're getting older. He said, that's because I have old thoughts. And it's true for every one of us. It's because we still hang on to old beliefs, old ideas, old thoughts about ourselves. We look into the mirror and we see a change. But I guarantee you, every one of you have done this. You are feeling a certain way. You've got a mindset a certain way. And suddenly you look in the mirror and you say, whoa, that's my mom, or that's my dad. We look in the mirror and we say, that's not who I feel like I am. Healing is different. Let's move outside of just the human experience and the historical experience for a moment, and let's move to more of a global experience. We live in a world of old ideas. We live in a world of mixed consciousness. We live in a world that has some fear about change. We live in a world that has some pain and doesn't want to live in this pain. No pain, no gain. Constant motion is required for all healing to take place. And so when we see movement going on in the earth, all around us, in the world, on the globe, sometimes we look and say, oh, look, this is bad over here, and this is good over here. We have no way of knowing what is good and bad any more than we have any way of knowing that which is going on inside us, whether the pain is there because that is part of the healing process, or the pain is there to tell us that some healing needs to be done. Either way, we must pay attention. And we have to do the same thing in all the places on our planet. Now, I know that the results of the recent national election and state elections in this country alone have caused some people consternation, fear, shock, amazement, worry, all of these things. For others, just about the other half, for another half, there has been relief, resolve, a sense of all right, now we're on the right track, finally. All of these things. How can two people, some even living in the same household, think these two different realms of thought? Because it's all okay. It's all a part of a healing process. Sometimes we have setbacks in what we think is our healing process, which is really nothing more than the body telling the body itself, rest, relax. You're getting too far out there too quickly. Pull back. Pull back into a way that allows you to have an inner healing and an inner experience. This healing inner experience takes place on what Charles Fillmore would have called race consciousness level. Now, as soon as I use the word race, many of us immediately think about different colors and so forth of people's skin and different cultures. What he simply meant was the human race. All of us have a consciousness together. That consciousness sometimes can work very strongly for healing, and sometimes it can work very strongly against healing. What do we know about that experience from historically and personally? We know that if we work together for our healing experience, it happens quicker and lasts longer. If we work against it, it'll still happen. It'll still happen. But yet, it won't happen nearly as fast or nearly as smoothly as we wish. I can give you examples, and I'm sure you have them. People who maybe had a broken arm or leg or something. And when somebody said, let's get that arm reset and let's get it fixed. And the person said, no, I don't need that. There's nothing wrong with me. I'll get over it and so forth. And they ended up with maybe a crooked arm or a crooked foot or a crooked finger like mine, that adhesions inside. All of these things can occur to us when we're not fully paying attention to the healing process and working with it. When we just say, no, I'll be good, I'll be fine, and our denial causes us to allow this to happen. It happens in bones and so forth in our body and teeth, but it also happens within us, around experiences that have happened to us, around things that we still hold resentments about, unhealed, unforgiven things that have happened in our lives. Forgiveness is another important part of healing. It's important to every one of us. Every one of us. Just like that voice I heard that time, there's a lot of healing here that needs to be done. What that voice was reflecting back to me was, there's a lot of resentment, unhealed issues within you. And until you get to the place that you can bring those to the surface in your consciousness, resolve them, and forgive not only the other person, but yourself in all of these situations, you're going to continue to have old thoughts, unhealed, resentful conditions in your life. You can see it once you've sort of backed off from it and got outside of it. You can see it in yourself and what a change it's made for you. You can also see it in others. You see it and you listen to them, you watch their body language, and you say to yourself, that person's hurting. The animosity that I feel coming from this person is nothing more than a secondary reflex to the pain that they're feeling inside. They don't want to cry, or they're tired of crying, so instead they lash out. There's a lot of healing that needs to be done. And healing is happening, whether you want to participate with it, or fight against it, or deny it. It's happening. I'm healing. I hope each one of you are healing too. Look deep within from time to time in your times of meditation. Watch what floats to the surface and pops up for you. Watch it. Listen to it. It's an attempt within for the psyche to heal itself so that you can be the fully Christed one that Jesus and so many who came before him and after him want you to be and know you can be. You may say to yourself on the surface, not me. But who else then? Does it always have to be somebody else in the outer? Can it be us? Can it be every one of us? Can it be those who we see as the other? Can we include them on this? All of us come together and allow this healing to happen.